When you think about politics in the United States, everybody instantly thinks, particularly on the show business element, of the wonderful late actor Ronald Reagan, a favourite over here with the Right Honourable former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, who apparently could not believe that she was sat down, horse riding, chatting away with one of her celluloid heroes that she'd gone to see way back at the Pictures in Grantham in Lincolnshire, when of course her father managed that shop. I mean, you can understand that, can't you? On a more serious note, there you are, one of the most powerful women in the world, but suddenly there's a person that makes you feel, well, you know, kind of strange, if you like. Suddenly you're sat opposite your movie idol. Happens not to many. Now, it's fascinating to note when you think about it, because Ronald Reagan really did become the person, the sort of template for former actors getting into politics. For a while, of course, we had the likes of Clint Eastwood. He had a dabble, did he not? And then there were other people throughout the 70s. Arnold Schwarzenegger had a bit of a crack, but sadly for him, it didn't really amount to too much, although he did very well as the governor. So, you know, you can move in if you want. And my premise on that is that I think people trust actors because they've either enjoyed their performances or, you know, they thought, well, yes, they know exactly, more importantly, I suppose, how to work the media. But did you know there was another actor who literally broke boundaries way back long before the former president of the United States, Ronald Reagan, did? So much so, in fact, that he had his own office inside, yes, the famous White House. As ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning. Nice to have your company. Thank you so much for joining me. I love finding these things out, you know, because as I say, when you've interviewed many people of a certain caliber, you forget, you know, their connections because, you know, when you meet an actor like a really famous actor, say whether it be, I don't know, Clint Eastwood, the aforementioned, and you sit down and chat, you're looking normally at their body of work. But sometimes if you stretch further out and look at the people they've worked with, they've either had encounters with, you know, Elvis or Marilyn or something. I remember interviewing Warren Beatty, and he said to me that he was one of the very last people, in fact, to see Marilyn Monroe alive, simply because he'd been at a party where she'd attended, and he was walking back via the beach. She was, you know, walking back, and they just had a very brief chat. Little did he know, of course, that this would possibly be the very last connection that she would make. Very sad in that respect, isn't it? But that's what you find out through good interviews. Now, this particular man was, in fact, a much loved MGM star. Robert Montgomery started out all thanks to the brilliant director George Cukor, who saw him and then took him off to MGM, got him a screen test with the formidable Louis B. Mayer, and a career on celluloid took place, starring opposite the likes of Norma Shearer, Greta Garbo, Joan Crawford, you name it. He was the everyman that everybody loved. Of course, with fame comes of people really getting bored of you. I know it sounds cruel, but particularly in the movie world, there's new heroes. If you like, Robert Montgomery was of a time. By the time the 1950s came around, there was a seismic shift with the likes, of course, of Paul Newman emerging, James Dean, all of that sort of stuff. So Robert reinvented himself. But he really did reinvent himself. It's a phrase that we now know today as, well, many people will know, as media training. And media training is where you take someone who's suddenly put in the public eye and train them on how to be more relaxed, look good, what to say, etc. in front of a camera. This is what happened for Robert Montgomery. He became the media advisor for President Eisenhower. So much so that that also went out to the First Lady. He showed them exactly how to make, you know, addresses on radio and moving into television. Now, they loved him so much that they decided to give him his own permanent office inside the White House. I know, what a thing, you know. And when you also think about it, the person that I interviewed who told me this was that, you know, Robert couldn't literally believe his luck. So much so that when they were traveling over here to the United Kingdom, Robert, you know, was meeting the then British Prime Minister. And it was advised that, you know, maybe the British Prime Minister might want to also undertake some level of media training from, obviously, a reputable Hollywood actor. Now, being British, of course, and stern and firm, apparently that British Prime Minister declined. And so that connection was truly lost. Robert Montgomery had a spectacular career, really, when you think about it, but he's one of our lesser known actors. But of course, his daughter, Elizabeth Montgomery, went on to star in one of the most iconic TV series of a generation. You know it? Of course, Bewitched. And many people were bewitched by the charm of the media training of the Hollywood legend that became Robert Montgomery. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.